Browns rookie minicamp day one practice is in the books. We heard from all of the draft picks except the quarterbacks. We'll hear from them on Saturday, but we did get to watch everyone practice. And of course, that means, Mary Kay, we can officially say the quarterback competition is underway. Everyone involved has practiced. It has started. Interesting note today, even though Kevin Stefanski downplayed it, Dillon Gabriel was the first guy up when it came to team drills.
That's right. Of course, he said don't read too much into that, but of course you can read something into that because the Browns drafted Dillon Gabriel ahead of Shedeur Sanders. They passed on Shedeur Sanders 6 different times in this draft. So you knew, and I had been writing and saying, that Dillon Gabriel was going to be first in these team reps. And the same thing is going to happen when they join the veterans starting on Monday. I actually think when that takes place, it might end up being Kenny Pickett, and then Dillon Gabriel, and then Joe Flacco, and then Shedeur Sanders. So Shedeur has his work cut out for him, but one interesting thing to note about these practices right now is the fact that they are kind of getting equal reps in this rookie camp. So even though Dillon is going first and Shedeur is going second, they're both going about 50-50 when it comes to the amount of reps, and I thought they both did a pretty nice job today.
And we did see a lot of teamwork today. I didn't think we'd see much of that at all, but Kevin Stefanski talked about after the fact, Ashley, that they sort of built this camp so that they could do some 11-on-11. They could do some 7-on-7. So we actually got to see some productive team reps out of both quarterbacks.
Yeah, I mean, you can tell they're putting an extra emphasis on that part of these practices. They're upping the amount of those drills that they're doing. So it is interesting. In that way, it's different than other rookie mini camps we have seen. And obviously, just all the attention and the fact that they do have quarterbacks here that they drafted. It was interesting, to say the least. It's kind of hard not to read too much into this stuff, though, because obviously this is all we have to read right now.
Yeah, exactly. What are we supposed to read into, Kevin? Come on. Now, let's talk about what we saw on the field, though, and what you saw from them. I thought during individual drills, we really saw some zip from Dillon Gabriel. There's that word, Ashley. I know it's one of your favorite words. We saw that zip from Dillon Gabriel, that torque he puts on the ball. I don't think we saw it as much from Shedeur, but I do think, Mary Kay, when we got to team drills, it was a lot more even between the two of them.
I think so. And the thing about Shedeur, and this is one of the things that I noticed when I went to his showcase, is that he's got plenty of zip and plenty of velocity on the long ball. He did there. But it's sometimes when he's throwing the shorter outs that you get a little bit of that wobble. But the way that I look at it is, if you have the arm strength to be able to throw it with that kind of velocity deep, then it's really just a matter of coaching and tweaking some things to get that same spin on the shorter out routes. So I think he will be able to get that. And I saw a ton of individual instruction today from both offensive coordinator Tommy Rees, but especially from quarterbacks coach Bill Musgrave. Lots and lots of instruction on the finer points of actually throwing the ball. So I just thought from a velocity standpoint, they both did really well. But once again, I think Dillon has a little bit of a stronger arm.
Yeah, and you could see Dillon after, if he'd throw a bad ball or something like that, you'd see him kind of go through everything again in his head. So he's certainly working through a lot of that on his end. Ashley, what did you think of both quarterbacks?
Yeah, I mostly saw them in those team drills. So, Dan, when you brought up the zip from Shedeur in the individuals, I was like, wait, what? Because I had just watched him throw a really nice ball to running back Dylan Sampson on the left sideline for maybe about 20 or so yards. And I even tweeted, I joked, that he had a lot of zip on the ball. Our favorite word here, I was struggling to think of a synonym. So, I thought, Dillon, you do see his arm, though, and his arm strength and ability to get in open spaces when he's looking for his guys. So when we talk about his size potentially being a liability, you saw him do, I think, some things today that shows how he mitigates that as a quarterback.
Now, it wasn't all quarterbacks. As I mentioned, we heard from the other rookies today. Mary Kay, what stood out to you either from what we heard in press conferences before practice or maybe anything you noticed during practice?
Well, we heard a lot of really, really good things from these guys today. One of the things that Quinshon Judkins said is that he really respects Nick Chubb, who now we know, and I wrote last week, is not coming back here, at least not anytime soon. He really looks up to him and respects him and understands the pair of shoes that he has to fill, but he wants to create his own legacy. I thought that was a really key point that he made. And then just one other thing real quick, and that was Carson Schlesinger talked about picking the brains of JOK and really trying to learn everything that he can from that veteran linebacker who is going to be around here even if he's not practicing.
Ashley, what kind of stood out to you today?
Well, instead of watching the quarterbacks, I chose to watch a lot of Mason Graham today in those individual sessions. And I do think with him, you see the things people talk about with his game, right? Especially the way he can create leverage. You see it already. I think with linemen, it's so tough in these practices to really glean anything because they're not in pads. They're not allowed to hit anybody. But watching him do the sled drill, watching him take instruction from Jacques Césaire, his position coach, I thought all of that was really good. And I thought it was interesting to get a chance to ask him about Shedeur today because he's not really rattled by the fact that he's not in the spotlight. And I know you talk to people at Michigan. I'm not surprised that this is his reaction. He just wants to come out there, do his job, play football, and whatever attention he gets, he gets. He doesn't care. So it was good to see him in his element today.
And I'll just mention Harold Fannin, obviously trying to work into that number 2 tight end spot across from David Njoku. And during practice today, we saw a lot of Harold Fannin. He caught, almost everything that went his way. I wasn't tracking every single throw to him, but we saw a lot of Harold Fannin. And that's one of the things you want to see in rookie minicamp. You want to see these draft picks shine above a lot of the tryout guys, a lot of the undrafted guys. And it seems like Harold Fannin delivered on that here, at least on Friday. We'll have full coverage of this rookie minicamp. Quarterbacks talking on Saturday. We're going to cover all of that at cleveland.com/Browns.